Shadow work is not just a practice. It is a pilgrimage into the deepest recesses of the soul. It is an act of unearthing what has been buried for so long that it feels almost ancient. It is peeling back the layers of who you've become to rediscover the essence of who you've always been. But the journey is not linear, nor is it finite. Shadow work is an unfolding, a cyclical, spiraling path that continuously draws you deeper into yourself. To begin this journey is to admit that you do not fully know yourself, and perhaps never have. You may know your habits, your preferences, your public face, but do you know the voice that whispers when you're alone? Do you recognize the subtle ways your fears influence your choices? Have you noticed how often you shrink yourself to fit into the expectations of others? These hidden parts of you, the silent saboteurs, the unhealed wounds, the suppressed emotions, they are the shadows that demand your attention. The shadows are not here to harm you. They are here to reveal you. But revelation is rarely comfortable. It is an act of undoing, of dismantling the stories you've told yourself about who you are. It is recognizing that the roles you've played, the hero, the victim, the caretaker, the rebel, are not the full truth of your being. These roles are masks, each one crafted to protect a part of you that felt unsafe, unworthy, or unseen. To remove them is to expose the rawness underneath, the parts of you that have longed for love but feared rejection. And it is here, in this vulnerable place, that the real work begins. Shadow work requires brutal honesty. It asks you to look at the parts of yourself that you've avoided, the memories you've suppressed, the emotions you've numbed. It asks you to question the beliefs you hold about yourself and the world, even the ones that feel sacred. It demands that you confront your fears, not just the obvious ones, but the deep, hidden fears that shape your entire life. The fear of failure, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being enough. These fears do not simply disappear when you acknowledge them. They rise to the surface, demanding to be felt. And this is where most people falter. We are taught to avoid pain, to distract ourselves, to stay busy and numb. But shadow work calls for the opposite. It calls for stillness, for presence, for the courage to sit with your discomfort and let it wash over you without trying to fix it. Sitting with your pain is one of the most challenging things you will ever do. It requires patience, resilience, and a level of self-compassion that most of us have never been taught. But in that stillness, something profound begins to happen. The pain that once felt overwhelming starts to shift. The emotions that once controlled you begin to lose their grip. The shadows that once seemed so frightening begin to soften. Because when you give your pain permission to exist, it no longer needs to scream for your attention. This is the paradox of shadow work. The parts of yourself that feel the most unlovable are often the parts that need the most love. The pain you've buried, the fears you've ignored, the anger you've suppressed, they are not weaknesses. They are your humanity. They are reminders that you are alive, that you are feeling, that you are real. But shadow work does not stop with self-awareness. It is not enough to simply acknowledge your pain or name your fears. You must also integrate them. Integration is the process of weaving your shadows back into the fabric of your being. It is about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you've disowned and finding a place for them within your wholeness. To integrate your shadows is to recognize their purpose. Your anger, for example, is not something to suppress or deny. It is a signal that a boundary has been crossed. Your fear is not something to be ashamed of. It is a protector, alerting you to potential danger. Your sadness is not a weakness. It is an invitation to slow down and reflect. When you stop fighting your shadows and start listening to them, they transform. They become allies instead of adversaries. But integration is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing practice, one that requires you to show up for yourself every single day. It is a commitment to self-inquiry, to curiosity, to compassion. It is the willingness to ask, what am I feeling right now and why? It is the courage to look at your triggers and see them as opportunities for growth instead of reasons to blame others. It is the decision to take responsibility for your inner world, no matter how messy or complicated it may be. And as you continue this practice, something incredible happens. You begin to see the world differently. The things that once triggered you lose their power. The people who once irritated you become mirrors, reflecting back the parts of yourself that still need healing. The situations that once felt unbearable become opportunities for transformation. You start to realize that the world outside of you is not separate from the world inside you. Every experience, every interaction, every challenge is a reflection of your own inner state. When you feel at peace within yourself, the world feels more peaceful. When you are compassionate with yourself, you naturally extend that compassion to others. When you accept your own humanity, you become more accepting of the humanity in others. This is the gift of shadow work. It not only transforms your relationship with yourself, but also your relationship with the world. It teaches you that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the creator of your reality. The stories you tell yourself, the beliefs you hold, the energy you carry, all of these shape the way you experience life. But this power comes with responsibility. Shadow work is not just about healing your own pain. It is about breaking the cycles of suffering that have been passed down through generations. The wounds you carry are not yours alone. They are the echoes of your ancestors, the remnants of traumas that were never healed. When you do your shadow work, you are not just healing yourself, you are healing your lineage. You are rewriting the story for those who came before you and those who will come after you. This is why shadow work is sacred. It is not just personal, it is universal. It is a way of connecting with the collective human experience, of recognizing that we are all carrying shadows and that we are all capable of healing them. But healing is not the end of the journey. Healing is the beginning. It is the foundation upon which you build a life that is aligned with your truth. A life where you are no longer ruled by fear, no longer hiding behind masks, no longer running from yourself. A life where you are free to be fully, unapologetically, authentically you. And in that freedom, you discover something extraordinary. You discover that your shadows were never separate from your light. They were two sides of the same coin, both necessary, both beautiful. You discover that your pain was not a punishment but a teacher, guiding you back to yourself. You discover that the journey inward, though difficult, is the most rewarding journey you will ever take. The world outside of you is only a reflection of the world inside you. When you change what is within, you change what is without. When you heal your shadows, you heal the world. And when you love yourself, you make space for others to do the same. So dive deeper. Keep going. The shadows are waiting, not to harm you, but to guide you home.